Well, hello, everybody, and welcome back to the big show. Today, we're going to dive into some things that most guys, they just don't talk about, but they definitely should. Issues like men's health, masculinity, the hard truth about dating, and of course, what makes a man a man. Today's topic is this topic is one that we've all been thinking about. Hell, I think we've even talked about it a few times over the last year or two. It's the war on masculinity. It's how to raise strong boys into the men of the future. And what better topic to talk about this right in the midst of the 2024 presidential election? So what we're going to do today is we're going to dive deep into why boys today are not being raised into the masculine men of the past. That's right. We're going to break down 10 reasons why the rugged, the dependable, the stoic men of old seem to be fading into the background. And you know, we couldn't do this without the man, the myth, the walking punchline, Dewayne Ward. He's got the jokes. He's got the facts. And together, we're about to light the topic up. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up one time for my co-host, Dewayne Ward. Welcome back to the show, Dewayne. How are you?
I'm doing great. And yourself? How are you doing this fine Sunday evening?
Doing pretty good. I mean, we can't talk about masculinity without talking about Dewayne Ward.
Oh, I am the picture, the portrait. You can't say toxic masculinity without thinking about me. I get
true.
It.
Yeah, whether it's masculinity or toxic masculinity, both things
right.
bring you to Dewayne Ward. So, but you know, Dewayne, you and I have been sounding off and complaining about this topic in some form of fashion for a couple of years
Decades.
now. Yeah, for a long time.
Yeah.
And I've noticed it happening, and I noticed a trend even 20 years ago. You know, a lot of times in our podcast, even when the podcasts don't necessarily directly talk about masculinity, this topic gets brought up into the intertwining of a lot of different reasons why the culture of today's nuclear family, to the unhappiness of men, to the unhappiness of women, it all kind of stems back to the leadership of the family, which is the man.
Right.
And now, more than ever, I'm hearing my female friends talk about how the man that they want doesn't seem to exist. And
exactly.
They're having a hard time finding men with a mindset of provide, protect, and they are clueless to why that is. However, a lot of men would be able to easily say, well, I can tell you why that is. The juice ain't worth the squeeze a lot of times. And hell, our kids are growing up thinking that if you are masculine, that you are indeed toxic.
Right.
It's become a phrase now that is almost the same thing. When you think masculinity, there's a lot of guys out there, young men I'm referring to, that actually think that masculinity is something to be avoided.
Oh yeah, big time. If you get as old as I do, the gray hair. Sorry, Jimmy, I don't want to offend you there, but you've seen it happen because it started out, they're making fun of the guys, and guys are dumb, and then it turned into I don't need you, and I can raise my kids on my own. I don't need no man to raise my kids, and they wonder. Now that they're grown adult boys are still boys. They're not men. They're not taking on those roles. And all the women are sitting around complaining and bitching and moaning about how there's no real men out there. Well, you busted your ass for the last 40, 50 years just eradicating men, and this is what you're getting.
This is kind of the cause and effect to it. I mean, there is a growing fear today that the decline in masculine men is leading to a societal shift. And that societal shift is going to have long-term consequences.
Oh, yeah.
Dependable men have historically been the backbone of societies. These strong men, these masculine men, are the protectors, the providers, and the leaders of families, and have been for hundreds or thousands of years. And with the rise of softer ideals, and the demonization of traditional masculinity, many boys are concerned that we're losing the very traits that actually drive ambition.
All right.
The traits that make these boys grow into men that grow up to defend families and stabilize communities.
Right.
You know, Dwayne, studies show that boys today are less likely to grow into leaders and more likely to lack direction, drive, and responsibility. And when you pair this with the fact that nearly 50%, almost 50% of men between 18 years old and 29 are still living with their parents, that's up from 32% not too long ago, just in 2007. And so when you look at those numbers, it becomes very clear that we are seeing a disturbing trend towards a generation that's completely unprepared for adulthood.
Yeah, well, the 20% of the kids today are going with their parents to job interviews. I cite that again just because it was such people, I brought that up and from that study, and we showed the information on the screen, and people were like, no. Yeah. This is what's happening. This is what's happening.
The comment section could not believe that stat. and it's sad. It's absolutely, it's downright pathetic. If you wanted my personal, honest opinion, it's pathetic. And when you listen to the boys, and when I call them boys, I'm referring to the, latter teens, 18, 19,
right,
early 20s. These guys, if you talk to them, you think that they all could fight.
Yeah.
You think that they all are ready to run businesses. They're ready to start their own business. They do a whole lot of this, and they do none of this.
Right.
Ask anybody who is an employer of people, and they'll tell you that the work ethic does not match the requirement.
Oh God.
Or the want for income.
Yeah.
They want all the money. They don't want to give any of the effort.
Yeah. They had some studies that graduating seniors are wanting like $100,000 out of the gate, the six-figure income out of the gate. They have zero experience, zero life skills, zero hunger, zero anything, but they want all. And it sounds like almost like a participation award. I wonder when we started doing that. So we didn't want to offend the little boys and girls.
Yeah.
This is what happens.
This podcast doesn't ever get political. And I don't know if you've listened to the podcast long enough, or if you know about the content that Dewayne and I talk about. It's not too hard to take a wild guess on which way that we lean when it comes to politics, but we're not here to push any of this stuff onto anyone. Form your own opinions, but if you do believe that masculine men create structure, provide protection, solidify the nuclear family, then you have to just ask yourself which party out of the two. And there's more than just two parties. I mean, you have the independent party, but independent party, it's almost never going to ever become anything, because even if an independent won the presidency, the House and the Congress, you'll never get them to support you because they are either right or left winging, So independents are going to have a really tough time, and they don't gain any traction, unfortunately.
Masculine men are the best in the entire world, and it is the best. I saw this with my own. It's the best.
The best ever. The best ever. Did you see his podcast on Rogan?
I got a chance to watch part of it. I'll be honest, with the week that we had, I was a little tired this weekend, not as young as I used to be, and I started watching it, and then I checked my eyelids for holes in them, and I haven't had a chance to watch the full podcast.
I notice this trend happening with politicians in this election, and I don't know if it really happened in the 2020 election. I don't believe that it did, and certainly not to this magnitude, but both Trump and Donald have been on very popular podcasts.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying that they're not on mainstream media as well, but for the first time ever, they're leaning on podcasters.
Alternative media,
I think the reason why that is because more and more people nowadays just distrust the mainstream media, whether that's Fox News or CNN or call it whoever you want. I mean, everyone understands that they're just a bias, news outlet, and they don't give the news down the middle. They just give their biased opinions on the news. And you got a lot of very, very well-influenced podcasters like the Big Show being one of them, with
Which be sure to
millions
millions
of people tuning in every Sunday. And what you're finding that people are appreciating and liking the real world, unedited, undocumented, unbridled conversation that lasts 2 or 3 hours. That Trump Rogan podcast lasted all of 3. And I logged on yesterday, watched about an hour to an hour and a half of it. And last night, let's just call it less than 24 hours ago, it had 20 million views. Yeah. And they did that. They did that show, what, 2 days ago, a day ago?
Right. Oh, yeah.
It wasn't that long ago. It was just like a day or two ago. And it had 20 million views. Fast forward 12 hours later, I log in to catch the final hour and a half. They had 29 million in 12 hours. An additional 9 million views in 12 hours.
Wow.
It's just crazy, man. But there's a lot of reasons. A lot of reasons other than politics as well. Although politics intertwines with a lot of decisions for why masculinity is becoming a thing of the past. And one of the things I've been alluding to a lot when talking about this is plummeting testosterone levels.
Oh, yeah. Soy boys.
It's true, man. In the past 50 years, testosterone levels have dropped about 1% annually. That's a lot.
Yeah.
And that's across the board. By the year 2020, the average levels in men were about 25% lower than they were just 2 decades prior. Now, when I get asked, because a lot of people know that I used to run medical clinics that specialize in obesity medicine. So testosterone levels are a topic that I would discuss with nurse practitioners and other things of the such. I've also been in fitness for quite some time, so the topic gets brought up. And some of the leading causes include sedentary lifestyles, poor diet choices, particularly diets high in processed foods and low in healthy fats. Exposure to environmental toxins like BPA found in plastics, and even excessive, sipping on that diet Mountain Dew with all those chemicals in it, making it taste great, slowly killing you.
I don't put chemicals in my body.
Puffing on your plastic pink vape pen while he sits here on a podcast calling everybody else soy boys as he's sipping on a pink lemonade, plastic, pink, whatever.
Hold on. We find the right one here.
Find it.
I don't.
Oh, Jeremy. Speaking of Jeremy, did you see that Jeremy took his daughter to, I think it was homecoming? She's now old enough to be in homecoming. She looked very beautiful. Congratulations to Jeremy. I saw it on Facebook. Good job, dude. But a study in 2017 showed that obesity, which, by the way, now affects 1 in 5 boys, is also a major contributor to low testosterone. And I think it was nearly 40% of men over the age of 45 years old now suffer from testosterone deficiency. So low T isn't just a hormonal issue. It's a crisis for the future of masculinity.
Right.
Because you can't be all that masculine if you have the testosterone levels of a baby seal.
Right.
So it's definitely a crisis. And without addressing these causes, we are going to risk raising a generation of men who are physically weaker, mentally less resilient, and far less prepared to lead or protect their families.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, we're seeing it every day. I mean, when the hurricanes came through, they didn't take any pictures of any, blue hair or whatever's picking women up and taking them, walking them across and saving them. I didn't see any pictures of that. I just saw the few remaining big, strong guys that were, still physically fit and able to do that. It's unfortunate. And, I've got, 2 boys, 23 and 18, 19. And yeah, seeing them grow up in this world, it's disheartening because the rules and the things I want to teach them to prepare them for the future. It sounds archaic. They're looking at me like, well, no, Dad, your word is not your honor and word, and full day's pay for a full day's work, because the society that we live in now. And I told you, I'm gonna have to work. I am gonna try to have to work and then maybe do some face swapping and do like a Trump episode or something. That would be funny. I just should be taking. Yeah. But yeah, and actually, Killer, as past tense, plastic made Dwayne female. I'm no longer in. I've transformed into a new butterfly, new creation, as the female version. like a phoenix rising out of the back tattoo of
a butterfly phoenix.
Yeah.
Like a moth escaping the flame.
It just sucks because I look at the younger generation, and again, when I was their age, I was grinding 2 jobs. I was getting stuff done, getting 3 hours sleep a night. Trying to prepare them in my entire life. I've been, doing that. And I look at the world that I'm leaving them and going, I'm sorry. I screwed up. I mean, that's an honest statement. I'm not like emoting that. I sit there, and when I have my 3 a.m. wake up moment in terror every morning, that's one of the things I think about. It's like, I've left my kids this world that they're, I've tried to prepare them for it, but the rules I've taught them, that's not the way society works. They're being told, don't show masculinity, act like a little wimp, cry, show your feelings, those things. And I got nothing for them. I'm like, no, that's not what you do. You pour it down deep and get it done.
It's tough, man. I don't envy the job that fathers and mothers have to go through in today's world to raise a boy into a productive member of society.
Well, hell, and over half of them are the ones that over half of these women are the ones raising boys. I mean, boys are being raised in a house without a man, and then they're expected to be a man, being taught by someone that has zero experience. It's not an insult; it's a fact. You have zero experience being a man.
Yeah.
They're the ones that are raising you. It's not happening.
And so today, since we're talking about the war on masculinity, the topic is basically how to raise strong boys into the men of the future. And what I've come up with is 10 reasons that I think, my personal opinion, hopefully you guys share it as well, 10 reasons why I think that the boys are having a hard time in today's world. And not only reasons and bitching and complaining, but also in the message, I'm going to give you guys 10 ways on how we can turn this son of a bitch around. And as it looks like we have Randy Macho Man Savage on the show today. So snap into a Slim Jim, buddy. All right.
Say your brothers.
That's Hulk Hogan.
Oh.
Randy's, oh yeah. So Randy, Macho Man, the very first thing that I've got together for you, one of the biggest reasons, and a good friend of the show, Randy Macho Man, his name is Dewayne Ward. He even said it himself. The number one reason why we're seeing what we're seeing right now is the lack of father figures in the household. And we're kicking this sucker off with a big one, the fatherlessness. Back in the day, you learned to be a man by watching your old man do man shit. Period.
Exactly. Yeah.
You watched him work hard. You watched him build structure in the house. He taught you discipline. He certainly taught you respect.
Yep.
And he also taught you how to handle adversity.
Yep.
And maybe his methods weren't all the nicest in the world. They were driven in like a freaking peg that's too big for the hole sometimes. Fair enough. Because when he wants you to help him fix the car and he tells you to hold the light, you know what's coming. You're getting the brunt of every screw that falls to the freaking floor. It ain't even your damn fault, but Lord have mercy, since you held the light, you're the reason why he couldn't screw that bolt in.
That's why I can't be offended. Yeah, it's why I can't be offended. And people are like, I'm going to say something mean to you. I'm like, dude, I held the flashlight for my dad. You got nothing on me. You will not. be able to intimidate me, because he came up with some words. But no, you're right. I mean, I wouldn't be a tenth of the guy that I am today if my dad had not been in my life. I mean, I've talked on other shows, kind of my situation and what happened with me and all that fun stuff. But my dad was there. He was present. He instilled values in me. My word is my bond. Hard day's work for or day's pay for a day's work. I mean, that's a direct line from him. He would kick my butt when I needed it. Sometimes literally. Oh, okay, I'm like Bret Hart. I'll take it. And those things which let me tell you, I did not get that from my mom, and seeing a lot of the ladies wasn't going to happen anyway. Whenever I got, knocked down or in a fight or something and would lose, he'd be like, get your ass back in there. Make him realize that, he may kick your ass every single day, Monday, Tuesday, but he's going to start feeling it over time. Not, go run to the school and talk to your teacher and cry about it. No. He was like, get your ass back in there, son. We need more of that. I mean, I'm going off on a diatribe here, but we need more of that. And it was funny when the kids would come home and have some kind of challenge or something. I would give that same advice, and then my ex would be like, oh no, do this, cry and bitch and moan about it like a girl. And I'm like, yeah, two different parenting styles. But yeah, we've just lost that. And these kids grow up thinking that they're special. And they are. I mean, my kids are special to me. I love my kids, but I know the world could give two shits less about them. And I prepare them for that. But you tell them every day of their life they're a superstar, they're a 7 on their worst day, that they're magical, and all the other nonsense that we're feeding these kids. They go out to their first job or go out on their first date or deal with some adversity, and they're like, but my parents told me I was a superstar. No, you're not. Oh God, my youngest, he's 18. I've been, of course, instilling those things in him. He's like, well, why can't I just get a job? The world doesn't care, and thankfully he hasn't felt too bad about when he's out looking for work or doing something new. He hasn't been filled with that. He's special. He's he's an angel, and the world is going to fall at his feet. And it's like, no, the world doesn't give two shits about you. Get used to it.
I'm going to
prepare these kids.
Right now. I'm going to say something right now to all the mothers and all the fathers who have children. Your kids mean the world to you, and they should. Mm-hmm. Your kids are special to you, and they should be. But to everybody else in the world, they're just another kid. Outside of your immediate family, no one cares about your kid. And that hurts to hear, because your kids are very special to you. They mean the world to you. Hell, you'd give up your own life for them. What is more valuable to you than that? Nothing.
Right.
The truth, the absolute unbridled truth, all veils pulled back. No one gives a shit about your children. They don't. And the world's going to show them just how little they care about your kids once they fly the nest. So you better prepare them for it.
Right.
So tell them, reword how you teach them. Let them know, hey, to me, like, just say it. Literally say this. Little Johnny, Daddy loves you. I love you so much. To me, you are my world. But I have to be honest with you. When you go out there in the real world, no one's going to treat you the way that your mother and I treat you. No one's going to care about you as much as mom and dad care about you. We are the only people outside of uncles and aunts that are going to love the shit out of you. But everyone else, you're just another kid, and you're going to have to show your value to the rest of the world. That's an example.
Not you're the man of the house, and you've got this, and you've got all that, and you're going to just go out and be a superstar. Oh, yeah, if you got this, girl. It's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen.
I mean, I know you probably got 9 other things. It pisses, at 52 years old, this pisses me off, because I see so many young adults, kids that have been given this bullshit. And it just pisses me off, because I know that when they get out into the real world, they're going to fall on their face, because part of it is they're going to be stunned. They've never been told that, I don't care that, you scored, you did great in the spelling bee in 3rd grade, and you're gonna ride that in for the rest of your life. No one cares. What have you done for me now. What I mean, you're like employers, they don't care. You are a number. You are, if they can use you for money, that's what they're going to do. You're not family.
Here's
Sorry,
someone
I'm
who's
going off on that.
here's someone who's never given me a participation trophy.
Oh, hey, Mrs. Smith. Hey.
Yeah. She basically she'd probably be right there next to my coach, pulling me by my face mask, telling me to get up.
Oh shit. Well, that's changed over the years. Back when I was that age, football, playing sports, martial arts, and everything, the parents would be the first ones yelling, "Yeah, kick his ass again, do this." Blah. Nowadays they go out in the field. Oh, don't hurt my little Johnny, my little baby. You think the guy that's going to mug your kid is going to be concerned about their emotional well-being? No.
Here's a good point that Jeremy just brought up. Kids today put more value on the attention and reactions they get from social media.
Preach it.
Yeah, it's a good point. Good point.
Preach it. You get Jeremy on the show because, yeah, he's nailing it. These kids today, I mean, they're does my 10 million followers, like that I decided to be a girl today, or whatever the hell they're coming up with.
Yeah,
it's ridiculous.
So, having a father in the household is one way, a major way to bring back masculinity. And what's sad about it now is that 1 in 4 kids grow up without a father in the household.
Yeah. And your government knows about it. They support it. They encourage that. I mean, there's so much data available on Pissed Off Parent app that shows that the government does not care, because that's all part of their plan. And these girls are so dumb, they sell their kids for a little bit of government cheese. I mean, you want to break down the argument? There it is. You can send all your hate mail to me. I'll refute all of it and show you how stupid you are. I'm sorry. Keep going.
That's okay. That's okay. The
it
second
just pisses me off. Because they're like, oh, my husband was abusive. He's just so mean because he didn't let me get away with anything. And wham, so I took his kids away. And I don't understand why they want to be a girl now. And they can't get a job. And their life sucks. And they commit self-deletion at incredibly high rates. And they can't get a job. And my daughter, who used to be going to church every Sunday and was, pure and blah, 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 she's getting railed by everything 20 times a day because she's looking for a father figure. Sorry. Okay. Woo, I brought the crazy back in. Go ahead, Jimmy. Woo, I felt good.
Did you get it all out?
No, that was the first. That was my version of crazy that just kind of slipped out a little bit. We all talk about everyone's got crazy. That was my little bit. Again, I've been doing this shit for over a decade as far as deep dive into it. There's so much data. And then you listen, well, not in my situation. Mine was just a mean fella, and I just wanted my freedom. And I'm like, okay, so you just didn't like the guy after the warm and fuzzies didn't put up with your crap more than likely, and you spin your stories, and you go ahead and take the kid away from his dad. And then, then of course he gets to meet a dad every week because you're banging everything that moves because you've realized that's, that's the only thing men want from you. You had a guy that wanted you for who you were, but now you're going to trade that in. And then you knowingly put your kid at risk of all these statistics. You're going to say, well, not my situation. And then you're shocked when the kids turn out all messed up. You sit around, it's someone else's fault, because accountability is like kryptonite to these. Anyway, all right, see, a little more of the crazy came out. Go ahead.
And a lot of them are literally raising their boys to become the men that they complain about.
See, I'm trying to put a lid on it, and you're sitting here egging me on because I'm wanting to bring more. Yeah, well, you're the little man of the house. So your 10-year-old kid, you're going to make him the man of the house. Are you nuts? Okay, sorry. Let's move on. Don't worry,
I've got 9 other reasons that you can complain about, Dewayne. So just
good.
Bottle them up a little bit and save some for the other 9. The reason number 2 of why we're having a really hard time moving boys into more of a masculine frame is an over-feminized education system.
God. Oh my God. Go ahead. No.
Has anyone ever noticed how school today seems to be all about feelings, cooperation, and safe spaces? Safe spaces for you, safe spaces for me. Yeah, Boys are being taught in an environment that's becoming increasingly geared towards the way that girls learn. And studies show that boys are more likely to be diagnosed with ADHD, suspended, or even drop out of school altogether because the system just no longer fits their more active, energetic nature.
Right.
That's how boys and girls, they learn different ways. Boys used to run wild. They used to climb trees and learn throughout roughhousing each other and competition with one another.
Yeah.
And now they're punished for being themselves. They're forced to sit still. They're forced to shut up, and they're forced to behave. And what is the outcome? The outcome is abysmal. You've got boys who are overly emotional, coming out of their skin, yelling and shit, doing awful things with weapons at schools, and look,
dude.
The reason why wise men are usually also stoic men. Has anyone ever thought about why that is? You think a masculine, stoic, unemotional type of man. Well, like yours truly. The reason why that is because men that are wise understand that men are capable of high amounts of danger. The power that men possess, the strength. You don't want emotional men out there because emotional men do really awful things. The worst things on the planet, whether it's grape or XAs, whether it's schools being destroyed, these are all men that have exuded emotions because they were unheard, because they feel that they're invisible. They don't have any friends. They can't handle a little bullying from time to time. It doesn't matter what we say. It doesn't matter what laws we put or regulations we enter. You're going to get bullied in school. And kids today have it so much easier than we did. Back in my day, if you wore glasses, you got bullied. If you had braces, you got bullied. If you had cheap clothes on and not, if you had Transformer, I feel like bullying Dwayne right now, looking at his background. I want to pull his underwear up, wrap it around the back of his head. It bothers me. And look at the poor Optimus Prime. It looks like he's separated in two back there. Optimus Prime is, I don't know what he's doing. He's either breakdancing or he's falling apart. I don't know what's happening with him back there.
I got to take a look at that later. No, it's just he's turned in a weird angle kind of thing, trying to keep him up and all that. Yeah,
even Optimus Prime's hips don't lie.
Well, here's something interesting. So, I mean, all this was true of me when I was a kid. I was poor, so I had Payless shoe store shoes. I had Kmart clothes. I don't even know if anyone knows. XJ900s. Probably,
the shoes from Kmart, XJ900s.
Yeah. Yep, got that. I mean, poor as can be. I loved Dungeons and Dragons. I was fat. I was just a nerd. Well, when I was driving to school, I had a shotgun in the back of my pickup truck. I mean, I was that kind of a redneck. Never once, and I was bullied. I was, never once did I think I'm gonna take that shotgun in and blow somebody away. Never once thought about that. Because of my dad, the things that he instilled in me. I had all the typical testosterone, the rage, the I'm getting picked on. Never once thought about that. I mean, I did obviously one day end up beating the high school bully's ass in the middle of school, and that was all wonderful. But I just didn't have kids today with everything, all these emotions and everything that's just hitting them. They get to that hopeless point. They don't have their dad sitting there telling them, yeah, these are things you don't do. I mean, my dad was in a physically abusive relationship where he was the one being beat. And he never once laid a hand on my biological mother. And those are values he instilled in me. And I never have once ever put my hand on a woman. It's things you're taught. You see a lot of times today, guys are hitting women like crazy. These ladies, you asked for this. This is exactly what you asked for. And you're getting it. So here we go.
Well, the school system is just not really conducive for raising boys into men. We used to have workshop. We used to have PE, things that would allow boys to be themselves, vent, run around, exude their energy. Now they sit in a classroom and they talk about equality and how.
I think Keller was talking about it. Yeah, Keller was bringing in his country. They were talking about how they sit around and whine about the environment and cry and sing "Kumbaya" or some crap. I commented on Lance's. True men, they sacrifice their families, their happiness for their families, whereas women don't. And the data is there. People can get upset by what's being said, but the data and the facts all show that's exactly what happens. Oh, guess how great my childhood was. Okay. Kmart did close.
They're done for good, huh?
Done for good.
Remember Kmart used to have like the little food court thing?
Oh yeah. I worked for Kmart for about 2 or 3 months in high school. One of my many side jobs.
Yeah.
Old-fashioned meeting.
And to the point I was making, earlier on how, you take away PT, you take away workshop, and you tell, boys over and over again that you're awful for being masculine. And that leads to reason number 3 on why boys are having a hard time growing into the men that we want around is the war on masculinity.
Yeah.
Society's got a bone to pick with masculinity these days, man. I mean, they've literally coined terms like toxic masculinity, which basically throws out all the positive traits of manhood.
Right.
Things like strength and stoicism and leadership, and it replaces those traits, those positive traits of masculinity, with a shame type of narrative.
Yeah.
No one's saying being aggressive or destructive is okay, but we've swung way too far in the other direction. Boys are being told that they should not be strong. They shouldn't take charge, and that their natural instincts are inherently harmful. And what's the result? You've got a generation of young men who are afraid to be men.
Yeah.
And that's where we're at right now. You've got guys who are confused. Guys, and as a dating coach who has helped many people with dating, I hear the complaints that men have, and I hear the complaints that females have on the open dating market, the dating scene.
Right.
Guys are like, I don't know if I should hold the door or not hold the door. I don't know if I should pay for lunch or ask to go 50-50 because I don't want to,
offend anyone. Yeah.
And then women are going, no, I want you to hold the door open for me, and I want you to carry me on your shoulders and pay for everything and coddle me and treat me like this and treat me like we live in a world right now where men grow up being taught how to treat women.
Right.
And women grow up being taught how a man should treat her. But yet women are not being grown up taught how they should treat men.
Yeah. Well, they're watching on the news and from their girlfriends that you emasculate at every chance. If you can say and do whatever you want to a man, you can treat him however you want to, and he's just supposed to take it.
Yeah. And so what you have today, here's the cause and effect of that. You've got boys who are afraid to be manly. They don't know what the freak to do. Yeah. Guys don't have the colorful mind of a woman where they can connect on an emotional level and be able to read the room as well as a woman can read the room. Men are a little more 1 + 1 = 2. So if you tell a man, treat a woman like she's a queen and do everything for her and be super awesome and nice, and then he goes out there and he treats her like a queen and is super awesome and nice, and then she says, I don't want you because you're too nice.
Yeah.
Then guess what that's going to make him do? The exact opposite of what that, because guys are about outcomes. If we were not about outcomes, we could not literally build the world that we all live in.
Well,
And
to put it a different,
go ahead.
I was say put it a different way. So, girls, I'm gonna pick on y'all a little bit. So, the nerd in high school, the nerd in high school or the nice guy, you turned him down, you treated him like, okay, let me just clear something up. All guys want to get laid. I know this may be a shock for some of you, and hold on to your skirts and pantyhose, but guys want to get laid. Okay, now we got that out of the way. Back in high school, the nerd, goofy guy or whatever that had a big heart and wanted, he would treat you like a queen. You totally just dissed him completely. You went after the jerk, the 6'6" football guy, third wish music guy that
fourth wish, actually.
I'm sorry, fourth wish, third, fourth, whatever. Three, I get confused on numbers. That treated women like crap and blah blah, and you just pined after him and let the nerd go. Well, what do you think the nerd? We'll just pretend he's me. What do you think the nerd's going to do? He wants to get laid. He's going to look at that and go, I need to become that. I need to be, of course, like, a person couldn't grow to 6'6", the over sixes. He can increase his money, and he can be a jerk, which apparently that's what a lot of women respond to. Women, for some reason, they love the pursuit of that. And then you want to sit around and whine about how the guy that you're with is being a jerk towards you. And you could have had a perfectly good guy.
Women, what women don't understand is that they hold so much more power than they really know that they hold. They hold power in childhood, raising children. They hold power in the influence of their man. They hold power in their families. They hold power on the dating scene. Women have always, since women are the ones that are pursued and men are the ones who are pursuers, then women are ultimately the game changers. They set the rules for how the dating scene goes. And when you look at grandma, or even further back, great grandma wasn't out there catching 20 bodies before she settled down. Grandma was a virgin when she met grandpa. And grandpa had to pay a pretty hefty price to get that from grandma, and that price was a ring, because women would tell men, if you want this, you've got to give
That's
me
what I told Brandy.
First.
I told Brandy that I'm like, if you're not going to get the milk for free, you're going to have to buy the cow at this point.
That's right. And
she reluctantly agreed
and bought the cow. That's right.
She did it. I was shocked. I was as shocked as everybody else personally, but that's just me.
And so, when you give women the opportunity to have all the liberation they want, and I'm referring right now mostly to the sexual liberation.
Right. Yeah.
And you teach women that, oh my God, your father was the only man I've ever been with. And now that dad's not around anymore because we lasted 20 years and now he's gotten some younger woman, I wish that I would have went out there and sowed my royal oats a little more. And young lady, your mom's going to teach you something. You make sure that you go out there and have the time of your life before you settle down. This is literally what mothers are teaching their daughters, to go out there and be 304s and to have a good time. And then the good guys of the world are going, hold on, you want to settle down with me after you let Chad and Tyrone clap cheeks for the last 10 years, and now you want me, your fourth option? No, I don't think so. I'll just use you as recreational as well. Without a father keeping women off the stripper pole, women will swing on the stripper pole. No offense to the strippers out there. Some of them are just trying to get through college. But, fathers have always been forward thinking, and I'm referring to generally speaking. And if your husband or you're the father of your kids is not forward thinking, well, then choose better. Okay, because you're the one that picks who you sleep with, and you're certainly the one that says yes or you say no to an engagement proposal. You choose. Okay, Mrs. My shit don't stink, and all the guys want me. Fair enough, cool. You're hot, fine. You've got it going on. Good for you. All the guys want you. You have your pick of them all. Well, then pick better. Because if you're complaining about the guy that you give babies to, when you have all these choices, then who's to blame? Who's to blame?
Yeah.
But that brings us to number 4 on the.
Look at you pulled it back around.
My segment onto these is extraordinary today. The reason number 4 is lack of responsibility.
Oh, God.
Oh, yeah. Listen, responsibility used to be a rite of passage into manhood.
Right.
As a boy, you learn to mow the lawn. You learn to fix a car.
Yeah.
You learn to help provide for the family. And now, a lot of boys are being babied and coddled and shielded from all the responsibilities that seem to build character in the men of yesteryear. And stats show that young men today are taking longer to move out of their parents' home, marry, or even take on full-time jobs. So you can't blame it on the economy because they're taking longer to marry and even get a full-time job. Back in 1960, only 28% of men between 25 and 34 live with their parents. You want to, that number's up to 52% now.
Woo. Oh, wow. That is high.
Over half.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know if I can share some, personal information and tie that back to the whole responsibility thing. All right. So ladies, I'm going to just keep on with the ladies here. You want that, sensitive guy, and you want all, you think masculinity is wrong. On the topic of responsibility, a man, one of the primary goals in the family unit is to be the provider, the one that is going to, when it all comes, the mortgage is going to get paid by him one way or the other. It's going to happen, and that's it. Do you want? And I'm going to talk a little bit more about this piece of it, but do you want a guy that? Well, let's just throw out the crazy idea that he is told that his employment's ending and he won't have income. Do you want a guy that's going to sit in the corner and cry like a little girl and go, poor me, poor whatever? Or do you want a guy that's like, okay, this adversity hit me. I'm going to dust myself off and I'm going to go out and find something, I'm going to go out and find something new, find another opportunity and grind towards that. Now, I'm saying that, and then I'm quickly going into the part about, and your job as a woman is to be supportive. And I'm going to tie that all back around by announcing something that I think up until yesterday, only 2 or 3 people knew. That's happening in real life. I like to talk about kind of my real life. About a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, the company I work for.
I'm surprised you're going to share this, but it's a true
I'm
story.
going to share this to everybody. It's a true story. But about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, the company I work for in the real world has eliminated about, I think, 150 people, one of which I was. I'd worked for the company for about 5 years. So effectively in a period of time, I'll be unemployed and I have to do something. When that news happened, the first person I told was Brandy, and because she's my wife and we have that respect and all that stuff. And she's being supportive. But I can tell you the way I handled it wasn't I sat in a room and cried about it. I'm like, okay, I've got to figure something out. I've set the family up to where next week we're not, homeless. We're not whatever. I've got things set up to where we'll be fine. And of course, the type of work I do, I'll be able to, find whatever. But those things happen. Do you want a man that is responsible, that plans for the future, that, I don't know, doesn't take any of his month of vacation until the end of the year to prepare for events like this, like I do? Do you want a man that instead of going, let's go to Paris and let's buy this and let's buy that, he goes, no, we're going to put this money into a 401k plan. We're going to put this money into retirement, an emergency fund. We're going to eat, sleep, drink Dave Ramsey. That's one of the guys I follow. And have money off to the side, so we're not freaking out. Like, I'm doing the live show here. I'm going to be doing other stuff. I still do a lot of volunteer work, and I'm not freaking out. I mean, it's a blow to whatever. I'm human, but it's the way I'm handling it. Part of that came from my daddy raised me. He taught me to be this way, not to be scared and freak out and, oh my God, and live a lifestyle, live responsibly. So when those life things happen, I'm not going to be in the corner crying. With the girls that live on their emotions, raise these boys, and they lose their job. They go down this huge dark corridor, and they're like, oh, they're going to sit in the corner and cry and not do anything about it. I see that every single day. So you want guys that are responsible. And you've got to build these guys to be that way. And just know that the two people that are watching this show, I think I'm up to 5 people that know. So whoever finds the show knows that this. But that's something that's going on in my personal life. I like to share personal examples, but that's something that's really happening. And men, I can't sit in the corner. I have responsibility. I've got to find something new, find side hustles, do what I've got to do in order to keep this family safe. Boys and girls, they're going to cry about it. And that's all they're going to do.
So let's talk about that, right?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of us, especially if we grew up without fathers in the household, we weren't around to make that decision.
Mm-hmm.
If you have the ability to change it, then change it. If you can't change it, then change how you think about it. And that's
right.
A life lesson. You always, if there's something in life that you don't like, then change it. But if you can't change it, then change how you think about it. And on this specific topic, if you're a woman who pick the wrong guy for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And you're listening to Dewayne and myself, and you're going, Jimmy, Dewayne, I agree with you. I agree with both of you. But I'm doing the best I can as a single mother. Yeah. It wasn't my choice to become a single mother. It's not my game plan. It's not what I wanted. If you're a boy who is now 18 and older, you're an adult, and your dad wasn't there for whatever reason, not to point blame on him or mom. Let's just say this is where we're at.
It is. Yeah.
Okay. What do you do from here, moms? What do you do from here, young men? If you just were given the bad end of the stick, the shit end, now what? Because if you're a woman, let's be honest, you can't raise boys to become men. You don't know what a real man is like. You have no clue. You can do the best you can. And I know that most of you are, but if you can't do it for you, then what can you do from here? This is my advice to the boys and to the single mothers. Let's start with the boys. Young men, listen to me. Your Uncle Jimmy, listen to me.
Uncle Jimmy.
Uncle Jimmy. Okay? I got you. The first thing I want to teach you is accountability. Do not avoid accountability. Do not avoid accountability. Let me teach you something that not many people know about me. I grew up with my mother and my brother. My mom did a really good job. Mom, I know you're listening. I love you. Did a good job. The best you could with what you had. And I will always respect you for that. The truth is there was a big, huge piece missing without a masculine role model in the house, despite my mother's best efforts. And whenever I got into the workforce, I gravitated towards men because I missed that part of my life. Men who were successful, men who had their act together, men that other men respected. I gravitated towards them. I seeked the advice of them. And I remember not making all that much working at a grocery store back in the day. I think my very first job ever, I made $4.25 an hour. That was my first job ever.
Woo.
Big money, baby. Big money.
That was styling. You get those JX350s at Payless.
That's I forgot Payless, yeah. And so I remember offering to pay this guy for some teachings. He was a business coach, and I had no idea how to make money, no idea how to prosper in the world. He refused because he saw I was broke. Jeremy got me beat. He was making $4.15.
Ooh, big money. Big money, big money, no whammies. I do like Jeremy's advice a little bit earlier in the chat at 6:55 on my time. I think we should all go. We all need to heed that advice. Stay off Jimmy's knee. Learn that lesson the hard way.
Have a seat there, Jeremy.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
Tell Santa Big Show what you want for Christmas. All right. That was weird. Okay. That joke didn't land well. Anyways, so I remember working with this guy for nearly a year, and he gave me all kinds of advice, most of which I did not remember. And that's the problem. That's the problem whenever you don't pay people for their work. Anytime you get something for free, you tend to not listen. Honestly, I probably would have got more out of it if he had made me pay.
Right.
So that's another lesson. But I do remember one thing, Dewayne, that he said. It was the most powerful thing, and I never forgot it. I was late for the phone call one day because we got on the phone same time, and I was running like another 5 or 6 minutes late. And he gets on the phone, he starts ripping into me about being late because this is not the first time he had to mention it. And he's saying, Jimmy, let me tell you something that you need to hear. Because I gave him all the excuses of why I was running late. And he says,
no accountability.
He says, this is your fault. And as a matter of fact, everything is your fault.
Yep.
He just went silent. And I went, okay. He goes, I want you to understand that everything is your fault. And I didn't say anything. And then he said it a third time, Jimmy, everything is your fault.
Yep.
He goes, do you know what I mean? I go, honestly, no. He goes, if you were the CEO of a company that employed 500, 1,000 people, Jimmy, and profits were in the dump, and the team's morale was down, and the shareholders were not making money, as a CEO, whose fault is that? Well, that would be my fault. Okay. If you're the CEO of the same company and morale was high, profits were booming, shareholders were high-fiving you, money's coming in, buddy, there's company strong, whose fault would that be? Well, that would be my fault.
Yeah.
He said, if you become an old man and you look back on your life and you have a wife that loves you and kids that grew up to be productive kids in society, you traveled the world, you made a little money, you created some memories, whose fault would that be? My fault. He goes, if you're an old man, you look back on your life and you never went anywhere, and you had failed relationship after failed relationships and your kids don't respect you, whose fault will that be? And he goes, I said, that would be my fault. He goes, that's what I mean. I said, he said to me, he goes, Jimmy, everything is your fault.
Yep.
From your failures to your successes. And I'll never forget that lesson. And the entire year that I worked with him, if that's all that I took from that, I took a whole lot out of that. So when we strip accountability and responsibility from our young kids, I think we strip lessons like that from them. I am a true believer that they need to try. And even when they fail, that's not really failing, but they need to freaking try. They can't sit in front of a screen for 5 hours a night. They need to get out there and bring some real world application into their life.
Yeah.
Because if they don't, then I promise you, if they don't, they will grow up and shun the responsibility on everyone else. If we don't teach young men, if you don't learn that lesson, that everything is your fault, then you're going to expect that your wife in the future becomes your next mother, and she is not your mother. Yeah. Women are not looking to have another dependent. They're looking for someone to help them, not to wash their clothes and do their dishes. And so if you grew up without a father, then you can easily sit there and go, well, Jimmy, hold on. I wasn't responsible for my mother's relationship. Fair enough. Fair enough. But here's my question to you, young man. At what age do you think is old enough for you to look back and say, I'm old enough now that no matter what happened to me in the past, it's pretty much for me at this point to take the ball and go with it? At what age would that be? And some of you might say, well, that happens at 18. I can see your point. Some might say, well, I don't know, when you're 21. Some might even say, I don't know, maybe when you're 25. Okay, fine. But we all can agree, though, that there is an age where, okay, at this point, it's pretty much for you to figure out.
Right.
And your parents give you a starting point in the line. Picture a marathon, right? A 26.2 mile marathon, 10,000 people. If you've never been a part of any sort of marathon or race of any sort, let me tell you something. No one's exactly lobbying to get right to the front. Like no one's pushing their way to the front to get that advantage. And why is that? Because you certainly have a starting advantage. Because if there's 10,000 people, when the gun goes off and the ticker starts going, it might take you 47 seconds to reach the starting line before you cross the starting line because you're so far in the back. But no one complains about that, do you? Do they? You never hear anyone complain. Why? Because like life, that race is a marathon. Right. It's not a sprint. If it was a sprint, your ass had better be in the front. But when it's a marathon, it doesn't matter how far up front you started. You could have started life with a silver spoon in your mouth, not a care in the world. That does not guarantee you're going to win that race. And you could have started life with being in the poverty ridden like Dewayne did. Doesn't guarantee you're going to lose that race.
Yeah.
It's all about how you decide to put one foot in front of the other and not give up. Ladies, if you have a son and for whatever reason it didn't work out with the father, and for whatever reason the father decides not to be in the boy's life, how can you still raise a productive man? Well, you start letting him know these lessons today. You start letting him know that masculinity is not to be ashamed of. You let him know. Don't just teach him how to treat women. Don't please stop with, oh, put them on a pedestal and they're all queens. Look, I'm not saying don't do that. I'm saying don't let the lesson stop there. Okay, teach them how to become productive men and how to face adversity, and let them know that they're going to fail.
Yeah.
And that when they do, excuse me, apologies, that when they do fail, you're not ashamed that they fell.
Right.
You'll be ashamed of them if they stay on the ground. And that you'll be proud of them when they dust off their scraped knee and get back in the race.
Yeah.
And remind them that unlike women, men are forged through fire. Women, we try to keep them from fire.
Exactly. Yeah, our goal, I mean, are to protect our women. I mean, real men, I'll just speak for real men, we're there to protect our women, but we have those defined roles. If you're a chick that is, I'm independent, I'm strong, I'm whatever, all that nonsense, then they're going to be treated that way. Boy, I got a lot of comments. Yeah, keep them coming.
These are great books.
Yeah.
These are great books that people are recommending.
Actually. And Mr. William Keim or Keem, I'm going to mispronounce that. Yes. Gave us a nice donation. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you, Will, for your $5 donation. Appreciate it. Also, thank you, Jeremy D.
Accurate.
Jeremy donated $25 for the Big Show episode last week via Venmo. Speaking of which, you guys, listen, we know that times are tough. And if you guys don't have any extra money, it's okay. No big deal. But for those of you who have a couple extra bucks and you guys are appreciating what you're listening to today, here are some ways that you guys can donate to the show. When you donate this way, YouTube doesn't take 30%. So it always, and then Dewayne and I split it down the middle, and we share it with Eric for operational costs and things like that. It helps keep the shows running and the productivity going. So thank you for Jeremy for donating $25 last week, and thank you for the donation, Will, today of $5. We really appreciate it. So let's keep moving on, because we're on actually number 5 right now. Number 5 is another reason, and this is a really growing concern, and this is a scary one too, for why boys are having a hard time growing into men. and that is technology and the social media addiction that has
Yeah.
overtaken many of our youngsters. That's men and women, by the way. The digital age nowadays has really taken over, and boys today are spending an insane amount of time glued to their screens instead of getting outside, instead of working with their hands, instead of learning practical skills. They're just scrolling through Instagram and TikTok. A 2021 study found that the average teen, this is the studies. Listen, Dwayne and I do the stats before we do the stats before the show. 2021 study found this is 3 years ago, by the way. It could be worse now.
It's got to be worse now.
Yeah, I imagine it's worse, but 3 years ago, the study found that the average teen spends 7 hours a day on screens, not counting schoolwork.
Wow.
Not counting schoolwork.
Low. It almost sounds low to me.
I thought 7 hours was crazy amount of time because school, I mean, they're getting out of school, what, 2:30, 3:15, something like that?
7 hours.
You know?
Wow.
I mean, if they jump right on, social media at 4:00 when they get home, 7 hours from there, I mean, that puts them there pretty much glued to it all day. And in my opinion, this is keeping boys from developing real world skills and face-to-face social interactions instead of becoming confident and competent. I say that word a lot, competent. They're becoming keyboard warriors and disconnected from reality.
Yeah, messes with their heads. It's weird that we have so much data and information today, and kids don't know how to do anything. Like back, I would have been. It would have been great to have how to repair your drum brakes on your Mustang, for example, or your dryer broke. How do you repair it? I'd have to, figure it out on my own. Now you can just go watch a quick YouTube video and do it. Kids today are like, I don't know, and they sit there and cry and want to have somebody do it for them. They don't want to do anything on their own, and they base their value system off of the lies of social media. Everything's perfect and everything's awesome, and this actually impacts the girls too, because girls get this idea that every day from their man or their boyfriend should be trips to Paris and brand new cars, and it highlights the false view of the world. It's not. I mean, no one gets on social media and goes, man, I lost my job. Well, I just did, but I lost my job, or I'm going to be homeless in a month, or a parent has cancer and I've got to deal with that, or I'm trying to learn how to do this. They don't do that. It's always these awesome, we're on this magical trip somewhere, and it creates a false sense of reality.
It's true. And when Chris and I were younger, we were always outside playing.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't see kids outside playing the way that they used to back in the day. But
no, that time's gone.
Another reason why I believe that boys are having a hard time growing into men is the weakening of traditional gender roles. I remember when men were the providers and protectors of families. I remember, that's how old I am. I remember when they were. I'll tell you how old I am. I remember when women nurtured and raised the next generation. That's how old I am.
Wow.
It doesn't seem like it's that way anymore. Society's push for gender equality has and is blurring the lines between what makes men men and what makes women women. Now, don't get me wrong. There's nothing wrong with women stepping up, but women are stepping up using the heads of men around them to do it.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I have a problem with. The feminist movement was to empower women to have a voice, to make their own decisions, and to help shape their future. But it's really turned into misandry, hidden behind a false narrative of misogyny. Many modern women claim that men hate women, when the reality is that many modern women hate men.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. Well, Vanderbilt or Rockefeller, I can't remember who gave the quote, but the entire reason that they supported and funded the women's feminist movement from the beginning was to get them out into the workforce. They could double tax, break up the nuclear family, and take it over. And all I got to say is, congrats, you all did it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I talk about the repeal the 19th, and I get a lot of pushback on that. Every time I say it, it gets less crazier because the more data and the more information that comes out, it just further supports it. I mean, it was all planned by the government to take over the country, and they've done a great job. I mean, the women have bought it hook, line, and sinker. They've removed the father from the household, which was your number one, and that was they were the cornerstone of the family. They got women working, so they're not raising kids anymore. They gave them a little bit of this and now, but most of them are dependent upon the government in some way. They've won. And I wish women would wake up to that, but so far it hasn't happened.
Maybe it's just me, but have you noticed that men don't have undermining names for women the way that women have for men?
Like, for example,
what names do men have for women that put down femininity in women? Can you even think of any? Now, that being said, how many times have you heard a woman call a man toxic?
Oh, it is.
How many times have you heard a woman call a man narcissist?
Yeah. All men are narcissistic. Yeah, all men are that.
So when it comes to masculinity, there are plenty of undermining names that women have for men, but can anyone think of an undermining name that men have for women's femininity? I personally can't. I'm not saying that they don't exist, but can anyone think of one? But I mean, words like narcissism, toxic, misogynist are used frequently to describe men. And, and it describes masculinity in its nature as toxic.
Right.
It's not just masculinity. It's toxic masculinity.
Oh, when they refer to masculinity, that's how they do it. When they say masculinity, it's implied toxic.
Correct.
They never refer to it as a positive thing. Yeah.
And many of them do it, and they don't even know what the definition of the words that they accuse others of are. They just deem any behavior of a man that they don't like as one of those buzzwords. Guys, the next time a woman calls you a misogynist, ask her simply, how do you define what misogyny is? She won't even know what the definition of it is. Most of them don't. They just use the buzzwords. Boys today are being told that masculinity is obsolete and unnecessary. And the more this happens, the fewer boys are going to grow up understanding their roles as providers and protectors. Boys will lower their masculinity to appease the women they love and care about, just to keep the peace.
Which never works, by the
way. Check this out, though. Guys, listen to this. Listen to this, the words I'm saying, because this is too important to just gloss over. Boys will lower their masculinity to appease the women that they love and care about, just to keep the peace, all to become the man that most women don't want in the future. Women will raise or shame boys into suppressing their masculinity and then turn right around and complain that there aren't any masculine men around.
And then go cheat on the guy.
That's masculine.
I mean,
you can't make it. You can't make this up. You just can't make it up. I mean, this is the truth. This is the truth. Yeah. And that's why my advice to the men out there is that it doesn't matter what women want or what they say they want. Only concern yourself about what women respond to.
Yeah.
Don't listen to what women say. Only respond. Only react to how they respond. That's it. Because there are women out there that if you let them run the relationship, they will run that relationship straight to hell and leave you there.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
You take charge. But before you can take charge, you have to be in your masculine frame. Not the toxic masculinity where you shout and yell and oppress. That's not masculinity. Masculinity is providing and protecting, to teach and to grow. To lead by example, those are some definitions of what true masculinity is.
Well, to go back to the, as you're defining the differences, or not the differences, but what masculinity is and isn't. So when you describe screaming and throwing things and acting all crazy, what does that sound like? That's crazy chick. That's not masculinity. Masculinity is, I know I can rip your head off and barf down your throat. I'm not going to.
Right.
That's, I'm going to protect the family, take a bullet. There's something like, bump in the night. I'm going to go investigate that. You lose your job. You're going to bust your butt at, digging ditches if you got to, in order to make sure the family can eat. That's masculinity. And unfortunately, a lot of these broads and these simp soy boys can't for that. The definition of masculinity has been so skewed that people don't even know what it means anymore. Yeah, if a guy thinks he's a guy because he beats up on a girl or a smaller person than him, another guy, or he punches walls or loses his, acts like you're acting like a kid. That's not masculine. And I'm hoping to God no one that watches this show or ever sees this thing ever thinks that when Jimmy and I are talking about masculinity, we're ever talking about that crap. No. I'll just speak. Well, I guess I'll speak for myself. Jimmy, you can agree or disagree. That's not being a man. Yeah, I mean, there have been times, I'll just say someone has said things to me, and I'm just picturing in my head ripping their head off, shoving their head up their ass, and kicking them down the stairs. But I don't do it. That's masculinity. You find your masculinity, part of it is keeping all of those emotions and craziness in check. And let me tie that into, so the kid that shows up to school and does a little bang bang session, that's him being raised, and he's not masculine. We all have those feelings. I mean, again, I haven't had you're driving in traffic and you want to pull a bazooka out and blow half of them away. You don't. You keep all that stuff checked. Those people that lose their lunch and have road rage and all their nonsense, they're not masculine. They're boys or girls. They can't. Masculinity is keeping all that in check and being stoic, being mature, being responsible, doing the right thing. That's masculinity. And I'm hoping that clears up for some of the folks.
That's a good point. I mean, there's a lot of things that are intertwined, right? And, but generally speaking, the expression of emotions is more of a feminine type of, direction, if you will. So if you're a guy who gets all spun off center every time someone pushes your buttons, then is that truly masculine? No, I don't think it is. You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of the 3-pound Chihuahua that thinks that it's a 80-pound dog yapping. Like any dog lovers out there, any dog moms, dog dads out there, for all you dog lovers, if you guys know what I'm talking about. You'll be walking your dog, and then there'll be some little knee slapping dog that weighs all of 4 pounds, acting like it's a damn 85-pound Doberman in the face of an 85-pound Doberman. And what is the Doberman doing? Standing there, staring at it. That's masculine. That's masculine. Big, strong, stoic, but dangerous as all get up. And trust me, there's no fear in that Doberman's heart for that Chihuahua. The Chihuahua's pathetic.
Right.
Pathetic. And also trust this. The real men out there, the dangerous men who have it completely under control, if that Chihuahua absolutely makes the wrong decision to bite, it's going to learn a lesson today. Because masculine men are not without the ability to be very dangerous.
Yeah.
Masculine men are warriors in a garden, not gardeners in a war. So in perfect Big Show fashion, that leads us right into the next one.
Track.
I can spin this sucker right back in the track. That leads us to number 7. This is a problem I got personally have with a lot of the boys out there today.
Uh-oh.
Yep. Listen, just because you are willing to fight doesn't mean that you can fight. Just because you see red and start zeroing in and you really, really, really got to beat someone up, if you are not a trained fighter, you're going to get your ass handed to you. If you can't even do 4 or 5 push-ups without being gassed, if you can't do a freaking pull-up or 4 sit-ups in a row, how are you going to throw hands with a grown man? Have any of you ever actually gotten into a fight? Have any of you ever actually laid hands and got punched in the face? Because trust me, if you have gotten punched in the face like I have and Dewayne has, even when I won the fight, it still makes me wonder if I really want to do that again. Because Dewayne has cauliflower ear going on because of all the rolling around he's done in the ring. When you've actually had to be in a physical altercation with another grown-ass man, whether you won or whether you didn't, it changes the paradigm in which you look at the world through, because you're not rushing out there to jump into the next fight. Trust me, man, it doesn't feel good when you get a tooth popped out of your mouth, or when you think you broke your damn jaw, or your nose won't stop bleeding because you got punched in it.
Yep.
The people who bark the loudest are the ones who are likely never ever been in an altercation in their entire life.
Keyboard warriors. They run their mouths. These little soy boys and broads all whining about, oh, I'm going to kick your ass. I'm going to whatever. That thing that happened with Tyson, that soy boy that was on the plane, and he was running his mouth, and Tyson just went, boom.
Yep.
Need more of that.
A little bitch.
Need more of that.
There are dudes out there who go to the gym 3, 4, 5 days a week religiously. You ain't taking them. You ain't taking them, guys. There are dudes out there, and back in the day, back when there was manly ass men like our grandfathers, those guys. Look, you're probably saying to yourself, "Well, Jimmy, my grandfather was a badass, and he never spent one day in the gym." Fair enough, but let me tell you something about those guys. Back in the day, boys were tough because they had to be. They worked on farms, they played outside, and they were naturally active. Nowadays, schools have cut back on gym time, if they even have gym time, and kids are more likely to be sitting in front of a screen than even playing sports. And childhood obesity rates have skyrocketed over the last decade or two, with right now 1 in 5 children are considered obese. Now, let me tell you something about the obesity thing, okay? I'm not saying to you that 1 in 5 are overweight. I'm saying that 1 in 5 are obese.
Obese. Okay? There's a difference. Yeah.
There's a difference there. There's a difference. Take your height, take your weight, and do a BMI calculator. And I don't want to hear none of this shit about BMI doesn't work. BMI has always worked. Always worked. Now, if you're a guy and you're in the gym constantly, then fair. You're the 1% where BMI is not going to work, like myself included. BMI says that I'm right on the verge of obesity, but I'm 260 pounds.
Right.
And I'm 10% body fat. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm in the gym. I'm not in front of a screen 7 hours a day. I actually work on my fitness. I got to get my ass back in the gym a little more, though. But
you need to get your ass back in the gym. Yeah,
I do.
You're a little pudgy there. You're a little pudgy there this weekend. There, I don't know. Didn't rock that John Travolta thing there. I don't know if you're going to show that off, but
but let's talk about stats, because Dewayne and I like to put our money where our mouth is with the stats. Okay, over the last 30 years, the percentage of U.S. children who are physically active for at least 1 hour a day has dropped significantly, with only 1 in 4 kids now meeting the recommended daily guidelines. And this decline is even more noticeable amongst teenagers, many of whom are trading physical activity for hours on screen. Studies show that teens spend 7 hours a day on entertainment alone.
Yep.
Now, why does this matter? Here's why it matters. Physical activity is not just about health. It's a key component of developing resilience, discipline, mental toughness. When boys play sports, they push their physical boundaries to a spot that are not often pushed. They learn to endure discomfort.
Right.
They build essential traits like perseverance, risk-taking, camaraderie. Shout out to all the single moms putting their kids through boxing. Shout out to all the dads who put their kids through martial arts or any sort of sports related activity. Make your kids get punched in the face. You heard it here. I'll say it again. Make your kids get punched in the face. Make your kids get choked out in jiu-jitsu. I want you to watch your kid get choked out, and I want you to watch your kid be very uncomfortable.
Get the shit knocked out of them. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Knock back to factory settings.
You need to see it as an adult, because what you're witnessing is how life is going to bend your children over when you're not around.
Yep.
You think life's going to coddle them? Nope. Has it coddled you? Mom? Dad? Has life coddled you? Has life taken it easy on you because you are your parents' children? Then why would you think it's going to take any easier on your kids? Because they're yours? You think anyone cares? No offense, but they don't. And the lessons that your children, look, if you can put your kids into some sort of sport, man, you're blessed, because most kids can't make the team. They're not that good.
Yeah.
And even if they make the team, most of them ride the bench.
They need to be told that, like, hey, Johnny, you suck. You can't play football. You can take that information and bust your ass and get in there. But a lot of parents today, well, my kid's special and blah, 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 and I'll sue you unless you put Johnny into the game. What does that teach them? Nothing. Well, it does teach them something, but it'll come back around to bite them in the ass later in life.
Men's life. Yeah. For those of you who can't see, he looks like he's about 5% body fat there. Looks like a post picture.
I don't think he knows what he's talking about. Yeah, he probably has no clue. Yeah.
I think he might have an idea, and he says it perfectly. It's very reliable indicator for inactive people. And that's the key word there, is inactive. I'm not saying the BMI calculator is 100%. I'm saying it's 99%. And everyone goes, well, what about the person who holds a bunch of muscle, blah, blah, blah. Is a person who holds a bunch of muscle that you're talking about, is that the kind of person who is common, or is that person rare? So if that person was standing in a mall, would another person holding as much muscle as your friend does, would you see when 100 people walk by them, would there be one person that looks like your friend? No. So then he's probably 1 in 100, right?
Right.
Yeah. So then he's the 1% out of 90. Sorry, logic is escaping so many people.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You know what? Look at this comment.
Yeah, well, someone was mentioning
drug dealer who served time, and out of two of those, we think attracts more women.
Well, someone had mentioned here the Love After Lockup TV show that airs every Friday. Brandy and I religiously watch that, and we just talk trash the entire time. It's crazy. These chicks and dudes, there's a couple dudes in there, go after people in jail and then wonder why it doesn't work out. I mean, they are just physically, they're nuts. I mean, the bad boy, the dangerous, the idiot, they're just, it's their programming. I don't know what it is, but they'll turn down a good guy 7 days a week to go after a loser. It's insane. And that one, it's not like that guy's in a little bit of good shape there, but his brother was a drug dealer in jail who had, I'm sure the typical look of a drug dealer. Who did all the chicks go after? Her.
Bad boy.
The brother. Yeah, the bad boy. Nuts.
Listen to how women respond, not to what they say. That's a perfect example right there. Let me help the question between Joy and Jeremy. Joy asked Jeremy, hey, you ever get tapped in the Marine Corps? He's saying tapped.
I'm going, well, tapped.
Tapped out, Joy. Tapped out.
Oh, tapped out. Oh, yeah. Get that.
Yep. So I don't think Joy's ever been tapped out in the Marine Corps. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Probably chewing on those crayons a little too much.
Joy did all the tapping out. That's why. But going back to physical activity, here's a problem with the decline. Okay, whenever you decline or you see a decline in physical activity, this also links directly to reduced testosterone levels that we were talking about before. Yep. It's a direct causation of it. And we already talked about how testosterone levels have been plummeting at least 25% in the last 2 decades. It's testosterone isn't just about physical strength. It's needed testosterone, that is, for confidence, assertiveness, mental clarity, all qualities that, of course, support strong masculinity. Whenever you're a man and you have a sedentary lifestyle, it's going to lead to lower testosterone, less motivation to push yourself. And it's going to create a feedback loop that keeps boys inactive and unmotivated. So if you can, put your kids into sports. If they're not good enough for sports, that's no big deal. Most aren't. Then put them in martial arts.
Yes.
Okay. And boxing, Krav Maga, jiu-jitsu, karate. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. I'm not here to debate which one's the best. Just put them in something so that way they can exert the energy, build a camaraderie,
build the confidence.
You'd be amazed. And Dewayne will tell you this firsthand. You'll be amazed. Some women don't understand this, but guys, we understand it. If women were punching each other in the face and tapping each other out, they'd hate each other. But you put men on a mat and they become like best friends.
Yeah.
It's just weird how guys are. The camaraderie that is built amongst men when they are sharing pain and adversity is a bond that is, man, it's a lasting one. It's like I'm no psychiatrist or doctor, but it's kind of like it reminds me of trauma bonding.
Yeah.
You're both going through pain. You're both getting tapped out. You're both learning something together. It's like almost like a trauma bond between men. And wouldn't you want your kids to have friends that are promoting physical activity rather than only, I'm not saying that having friends on the video games is bad, but having only friends from video games is not all that good. Let's have a mix of friends. Like if you have a son, having a mix of friends of his friends at school, his friends in boxing, and his friends on the video game, I think that you'll have a pretty well-rounded kid.
Well-rounded, yeah.
So that's my thoughts. Number eight is the lack of competition. And it just kind of goes right to what we listen. Donald Trump and Joe Rogan, Donald talked about, man, guys, for any of you who watch the show, what does Donald Trump call it whenever he starts going off a topic and then he comes right back? Does he call it weaving? Is that what he called it?
I think it was weaving. I think that was the phrase, was weaving.
Put it in the comment section if you know what I'm talking about. Donald and Joe, Donald Trump he's not a teleprompter kind of guy.
No.
So he just kind of starts on a topic and he starts going off. He's just like me. I can't stay on topic very well, but I can weave like the Trumpster. I get right back into it. And we're going to go right into the lack of competition. So it's no surprise that we are living in an era. We're living in a time of the participation trophy.
Yes.
And while it sounds harmless to some people, this culture shift is taking a serious toll on how boys develop essential traits like grit and ambition and resilience. The competition that Dewayne is talking about with the karate and the sports, that used to be one of the primary ways that boys learned what it meant to set a goal, to work hard, to earn the satisfaction of victory or the lesson of defeat. Either one is fine, and they both teach great lessons.
Yep.
It used to be that losing was just as valuable as winning because it taught boys to bounce back, push harder, handle rejection, and find ways to improve. That's how important failing is. But today, that competitive edge has been dulled. Kids are getting praised for simply showing up now, and everyone gets a trophy. And what that does is it sends, and this is my opinion, it sends a message that effort is optional.
Yeah.
that everyone should be
Everybody.
treated the same, regardless on their commitment, regardless on their skill, regardless on the outcomes.
Yep.
No, I don't believe in that. What's your take on it?
Oh, I mean, I was railing that earlier. Yeah, I mean, you got, let's see, graduation from kindergarten. Everyone gets those. I mean, it was so cool back in the day when you do your races for school and you'd get those ribbons. If it was first, second, and third, not participation, first, second, third, that was it. And if you didn't get the ribbon, you better learn to run faster or do whatever you're doing. Awards were based on overachievement, putting in the time, working out to achieve those goals. And now it's just everyone, if the person lost, it was all, it's blaming everything. The reason this happened was because, the world's against you, or, they hate you, or you're a racist, or whatever that is. And I mean, and we've got these kids growing up thinking that everything is everyone else's fault. I mean, how many times have you been in a discussion and it's always now I know you were talking about your fault, and that is different than the way it's being presented here of your fault, or I'm sorry, it's not your fault. The exact opposite is always somebody else's fault that something bad happened to them. And which of the genders does that fall into more?
Fair enough.
And who's raising our boys?
Let's talk numbers. Studies show that boys' participation in organized sports has dropped over the last few decades.
Yeah.
Here's an example. Between 2008 and 2018, in those 10 years, participation in team sports have dropped from 45% to 38%. And that's among boys aged 6 to 12. And the decline isn't just because kids are losing interest. It reflects, in my opinion, a broader shift in how our culture views competition.
Oh, yeah.
And it often discourages it in favor of more inclusive environments that prioritize everyone feeling comfortable.
Yeah. Everyone has to. Well, here in Texas, it gets hot in the summer. A lot of the schools have put in air-conditioned workout areas. For the previous years, decades, it's always been open air, and you just suffered through it, and you built, and you got better. Now everyone's all comfortable. It's just insane. It's insane. What's
Number nine's gonna light the fire under Dewayne.
Oh boy! All right. So we got here
the ninth reason.
Oh God!
Media and entertainment.
Hook in the mouth. Oh my God! Yeah. Well, on the podcast, an unnamed podcast a few weeks ago, we talked about the feminization and the media and the way it is. Toxic masculinity. It's always bad. Guys are dumb. We're bad. We're mean. We need to be told to shut up and sit back. Women are special. They're angels. And that's been the war on men in the media has been going on for
decades,
50 years. Yeah. I mean, it's ridiculous.
And we've talked about this on many podcasts. Turn on your TV, flip through social media. It doesn't matter. And what do you see?
Yep.
You see weak, bumbling men who can't hold their own in a conversation, much less provide for a family. The portrayal of men in media has shifted to favor the sensitive man who's in touch with his feelings, while the stoic, rugged heroes that we grew up with are almost laughable now.
Oh, yeah. Oh, well, yeah. I mean, I had Arnold Schwarzenegger. I had, the Terminator.
Sylvester Stallone.
Yeah.
Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Yeah. We have, Robert Downey Jr. and that little wimpy Spider-Man kid, and those are whatever. But, and it's even gotten into video games. I mean, as well, Letty, we like to play video games. I was playing a while back, and I didn't realize it, but they had a misogyny clause. You can get in trouble for doing it. And guys were talking about, you're a jerk, of course, other names on there. And I made a comment about someone being a little bitch, and I got a warning. Now, we've been talking trash that, guys are trash all day, throughout this game, and nothing happened. And then the minute I said that, boom, I got in trouble. It's insane.
Yeah.
That's how far society has fallen, thanks to all this nonsense.
And the trend is becoming more and more persuasive in popular children's media as well. I don't watch a
Oh,
whole lot of
good.
cartoons, but you know, the ones that I catch when I'm flipping through the channels where male characters are, you know, frequently overshadowed by a hyper competent female lead.
Ever. Yeah.
The men are portrayed as helpless without female guidance. And what happens is boys absorb these messages at a young
Yeah.
age, and it's going to lead them to believe that masculine traits such as independence or assertiveness and leadership are undesirable or even toxic.
Oh yeah. Oh well. Okay. There was a commercial. I was trying to find it for the podcast I did, but there was the one where the guy and the girl. Now the girl's driving, the guy's not, and they're sitting there, and their car won't start, and the guy doesn't do anything. She's like, "I got this." Now what's funny? This is what's it was something we actually talked about earlier this weekend. Is the girl's like, "I got this handled," pushes a button, and the guy shows up to jumpstart their car, which I thought was hilarious because it feeds into the whole the girl's strong and independent, but she still relies on men. She's just paying for it.
Right.
But but the guy's, the guy's I don't know how to jumpstart a car. I mean, that's scary, but that's what they portray in the media, and it's ridiculous. It is just insane.
It is insane, man, and it's got to change. We've got to teach our kids that masculinity is not something to be ashamed of. It's something to be to sought after. We should be we should be doing the best we can to be masculine men, not be afraid of showing our masculinity.
Oh yeah.
But the last reason, number 10, in my opinion, on why boys are having a hard time growing up into the men that our mothers want them to grow up to be, and the fathers that would be proud of them, is a lot of them are growing up with no male leadership at all.
Right. Yeah.
The portrayal of men in social media has undergone a major shift over the last few decades. Gone are the days of strong, stoic leadership type of men who embody traditional values of courage and honor and resilience. And instead, we're now presented with these male characters who are clumsy, weak, overly sensitive, outright emasculated.
Yep.
And look, there's nothing wrong with men embracing a range of emotions, but the constant portrayal of men as clueless or bumbling or unmotivated is going to lead our boys into a narrative to think that masculinity is something to be ashamed of or minimized. That's the problem I got. Right. And when you look at the studies show that when kids are consuming the amount of hours, and the studies are showing about 7 hours a day, this bombardment of skewed male portrayals is going to, how can it not? It's going to impact young boys' perception of their roles and what their behaviors should be. And the trend is even more persuasive in popular children's medias, where we talked about before. You know, one study, it was the Common Sense media. It's literally called the Common Sense media. Found that 60% of children's programming lacked any positive male role models.
Oh yeah,
at all.
Yeah, I captured some videos from in the past on just how they point out, and it's funny. I did one from Golden Girls. Oddly enough, it wasn't. I know it's not children's program, but they had one where the girls were a guy. They didn't like the way a guy was talking to a woman, and it wasn't bad. It was just he wasn't putting up with her crap, and they all got down on her or on him. And then like it was like the next episode, they were laughing at a guy that wasn't as cute or the guy. He was. They were just making fun of him, and I was like, oh wait. It was so weird. It was the very next episode, and I remember clipping it and putting it together and doing like a little video for it. But again, it goes back to the whole media that they keep pushing this narrative, and guys, you could say we consume 7 hours a day. These kids are consuming 7 hours a day. They keep seeing this over and over and over, and they think that's the way, that's what men should be. They're just reshaping everything.
Yeah, it's sad, and whether you have a father in the house or whether you don't, having a good male role model is so important. So important for young boys. And that role model, gosh, if all you did single moms, if all you did was just take some of the advice that Dwayne and I shared with you today and put your kids into sports or a martial art or something of that nature, they're going to get positive male role models. There's a way of doing it. The problem that I think that a lot of single mothers have, and because God made mothers to be more nurturing and protect their children from pain, which is needed, the problem is when there's not a father to counterset that. Right. Moms have a really hard time watching their kid get choked out in a Krav Maga class.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
They have a hard time watching their kid get his block knocked off of him when they pull the guard on a sweeping route and he wakes up looking at the sky because some 185, 200-pound freaking junior cleaned his clock on a guard pull in football. Right. So, look, I get it. But ladies, you have to understand that when it comes to raising boys, your boys are not going to become the men that you'll be proud of if they don't go through adversity. If you don't take off the bubble wrap and the little floaty swimsy things on their arm, metaphorically, of course, they're going to grow up and they're going to struggle, man.
And can we say because I know the women are going to go here because I've heard them do it. The whole male mentorship, it is not, let me repeat, not a replacement for their father. Let me just get that out of the way now. Because a lot of these chicks are like, oh, well, any man can. No. I mean, let's just reverse that around. Any woman could replace you.
Yeah.
It sits about the same way. So
that's a fair point. That's a fair point. I'm glad you brought it up.
And a lot of these chicks will say that.
Yeah. This is not a replacement. First of all, let me just set the record straight. Ladies, there is no replacement for the child's father. There is no replacement. Zero. I'm saying in addition to. And right. If the father is not around for whatever reason, not here to debate the reason.
Except for you getting rid of him.
Yeah.
Except for that reason.
Yeah. Yeah. If you got rid of the father because he don't tickle your fancy, shame on you. And your kids are going to suffer because of your choices. But if the father is not around, then it makes the male role model even more important to have in their lives. But it's never going to be a replacement of their father. So thank you for mentioning that, Dwayne. The lack of male mentorship in young kids' life means that a lot of kids are left without guidance on how to navigate the challenges that life inevitably is going to bring their way. And these kids, these boys, we're seeing it now. They're struggling, man. They're having tough times out there. They're struggling whenever life throws its curveballs, whenever life needs goals to be set, whenever boys or men are trying to find purpose in life. They're having a tough time. Without experienced men, listen. Without experienced men to teach your boys will miss out on essential lessons in accountability, in honor, and the importance of integrity. 3 things that men hold very near and dear. And a result is we're going to be left with a generation that struggles with motivation, resilience, and purpose. Okay. Yep. Qualities, by the way, that are essential for building families. So when I say that they're going to struggle, I'm not talking about struggling finding friends only. I'm not also talking about finding friends and getting a good job only. I'm talking about having your grandchildren. Mom, you want to be a grandma one day? Well, your son has got to find himself a good woman, and he ain't going to find himself a woman if women are not attracted to his qualities and his traits. So again,
there's so many ways I want to go with that.
Dude, I can keep going on this.
I'm like the ones that remove the fathers from their life. What I because my ex-wife tried to do the same thing to me, and it is an honest question I want to ask her. I just want to ask her, when my sons get a girl and then have kids, and then she does the exact same thing you did to me, to them, what are you gonna say to them? I want to be a fly on the wall when that conversation takes place. But anyway, That's something.
Look at my mom. Thank you, Mom. Yeah. I never ever said, Mom, I want to be a female. That's true.
You are older. I mean, nowadays it's becoming the in vogue thing to do. Oh wow, Mama jumped in. Tag me in, Jimmy. Tag me in.
I tell you what. You don't want to mess with that woman. That woman, she ain't human. I mean, there's something.
Scrapper.
She's a scrapper. My mom. If I was a woman, I wouldn't fight her. I wouldn't fight her. But let me finish my thought here. I want to touch on a comment Jeremy Beef said. I'll leave it open to anything you want to add, and then we'll go to final thoughts. So just to kind of bring home this whole male role model thing, I want to just let everybody know that we're going to be left with a generation that struggles on many different fronts if we don't have the father in the home, and if the father's not in the home, we don't have any male role models. We're going to struggle. And we're going to struggle with our communities. We're going to struggle building a strong society. We're going to struggle building families. So reintroducing male mentorship would not only guide our boys towards adulthood, but it would also establish a culture where men take pride in passing down wisdom and skills and values to the next generation. So that's my thoughts on it. Jeremy B says, oh, sorry, hold on. Daughters need that too. Daughters need to learn how they should be treated. But I wanted to highlight this comment from the last sentence, but also how to teach a good man.
Yep.
Teach and treat a good man too. Because we are teaching our daughters what they should expect from men, but we're not doing a very good job. I'm not saying Jeremy, just saying in general, on teaching our daughters how a good man should be treated.
Yeah.
Whenever you find a good man, ladies, just because you found him doesn't mean he's yours. You got to learn how to keep him. And I've said this before. Ladies, you do not get credit for the amount of men that you sleep with. You get credit for the amount of good quality men that you can keep. So I appreciate everyone sounding off on the comment section today. We had a lot of great back and forth, a lot of great, knowledge and wisdom. Hopefully you guys agree. Before we go to final thoughts, Dewayne, did you want to add anything before we go?
Oh God, there's so much. I mean, we've already been on for a couple hours. These are topics because I've seen it over the decades, and I've counseled a lot of men and women and kids, and I mean the things that you talked about is just so spot on. And I just really wish people would figure this out. I mean, the guys I think have a good grasp of it. I mean, a lot of this is I almost want to have the ladies only show and talk to the ladies, because it's like, girls, you're the ones that control a lot of this stuff. I mean, having the high body count, not a good thing. But girls, you control that access to the relationship, to the sex part of it, not the relationship, and find quality guys, settle down, get in. And I'm saying these words, this is like applesauce, because I've talked to women that I'm using these words and they have no clue what I'm talking about. They'll sit there and nod their head and they have no freaking clue. And I can say that because there's a number of women I've talked to, and men have to train them to where they understand, you can't use words like you need to be in your feminine, let's say, or you need to be feminine towards your man, because women, they don't know the word, they don't understand what that means. They think, oh, you mean I booked the trip to Paris with us that you're going to take me on, or I'm going to yell at you, or I'm going to do this, or I'm not going to do that, or it's like, no, that you accept the roles that that we should have. I am the man, you are the woman. This is the structure, and it works out so much better. I mean, hell, I'm going to say a word that's going to light everyone's ass up. obey, need to be obedient to your man. They're going to, I mean, that's why we turn this into a 20-hour podcast. Women have, and I'll say some men too, women have no clue what the word obedient means, have no clue. They don't understand what that means. And again, I'm saying this and they're going, oh, yeah, they have no clue what that
they
even
understand
means.
the true definition behind it.
Especially in the context of a relationship. And I sit there and I've used example after example, and I get the freaking dog ear RCA dog side cock, like, what are you talking about? And it takes years. I mean, I'd say it takes years for them to understand and see example after example after example to where they understand. I mean, you know, and I'll just say it in my relationship, my wife is obedient. And everyone's going to get their cackles in the story. You've been around us. Joy's been around. So many people have been around us. And you're like, wait, no, what? You know, she can't be happy. She can't be this. I'm like, then you don't understand what the word obedient means.
Right.
And it's just like, feminism has lied to women for decades. And has ruined a lot of society. I mean, I can go off and you know what? I better stop because I'm going to go off in this diatribe. And I'm sure I've got my finger on the pulse for a lot of the guys that are on. They just don't get it. And they need to, because society and the biggest thing, you know what? The biggest thing, our kids, our future, the ones that we've created, the ones that we supposedly love with everything we have, we're ruining them. When you get rid of that good guy, you have increased all of these metrics, data that we have. And again, and the first thing these broads will come back with, well, not in my case. We're not talking about you. We're talking about you and society and the numbers. It's there. If there was a 1 in 6 chance that I pulled the old thing and, you know, and gooed my brains out, do I want to take that chance? No. I mean, and again, I could go on and on and on. It's just, you know, come back, watch the show, turn off the feministic nonsense thinking and listen to what we're really saying, not what society and those stupid TV shows have programmed you to believe. You're going to get a much, after you learn some things, and I probably should pull Brandy on here at some point and let her talk about it some, that, you know, the way people think I talk, they think that she's some subservient whatever, and she's none of those things. She is and I mean, you know her, she's a strong, she's an independent, the right definitions of those, but she has her role, I have mine, and it all works great. Y'all have tried sometime. It's a neat thing. Anyway, I'm going to shut up because I will go on. It's just something I'm so passionate about because I want the best for society, for men, women, and children, and it works. And all this kicking against the goads and doing this strong independent, it brings nothing but misery. That's all it does. And I wish people would just wake up from that. All right. And I'm going to shut up now because no one's
want to thank everybody once again for all your comments. Special thank you to Jeremy B for donating $25.89. Anyone who wants to know what the 89 cents is, just ask Jeremy B in the comment section. He'll tell you why 89 cents. But thank you, Jeremy B, for always being a contributor to the big show. We really do appreciate you, buddy. And congratulations on raising a very beautiful daughter. I hope she had a great time at homecoming. And thank everybody else for commenting and viewing as always. We are now on our 77th episode of the big show. So never thought that we would get this far. It's been surreal, and developed some really great relationships over the last couple of years with you guys, and some great friendships and stuff. And I'm just honored and blessed. So let's go ahead and close the show out by going to final thoughts. So we talked about a lot today, right? And I guess the end result is really, what do we do about all this? I mean, look, the path forward is really about reclaiming the core values of masculinity. We've got to stop being afraid of what makes men strong, capable, and honorable. Fathers and mentors, teachers, we need to step up. Boys need real role models to show them that masculinity is something to not be ashamed of. It's actually something to be cultivated. Masculinity is about strength. And I'm not just talking about physical strength. It's the strength to lead a family. Masculinity is the strength to provide and protect. Masculinity is the strength to stand up for what is right, even when it's not easy to do it. It's about taking responsibility, learning to compete, and being the pillar in your community. Remember, A society without strong men is like a ship without a captain. It's going nowhere fast. And it's time to put the rudder back in the hands of real men. And if you agree, this is going to sound maybe controversial to some, so I'll just keep it nice and right down the middle. If you agree with what Dewayne and I are saying today, then here's what I want you to do. I want you to take a moment to think before you vote this week. What party do you feel promotes masculinity? Which one doesn't? Which party promotes taking accountability and which party promotes a more everyone is equal mentality? Which party promotes the nuclear family and which one doesn't? Our country can't afford many more decades heading in this direction. So I ask everyone to choose wisely. That's all I got for today, folks. Keep pushing forward, keep staying strong, and as always, protect what matters the most. I really want to thank everyone for tuning in today's episode of The Big Show. I really do appreciate it. On behalf of my co-host, Dewayne Ward, keep pushing to be the very best version of yourself that you can be. We'll see you guys here on Dad Talk Today next week, Sunday, 7 p.m. Central, 6 p.m. Eastern. This is Jimmy Smith with Dewayne Ward at my side, signing off from The Big Show. We'll catch you guys next time. We'll see you guys next week.